Okay, so this video is going to be over drawing the border for the hand drawings 1 through 11 blocks. With this, let me get that out of the way. With this, it's going to be the outside border, which is all a half an inch away from the edge. The reason I don't do photocopies is because this happens, which basically means that it shifts it over. The photocopier isn't perfect, and it's a good way to show you, or have you show me that you can redesign and draw the measurements over and over and over and over again. And so with this one, this is going to be half an inch, this is going to be half an inch, this is going to be half an inch, and this one's going to be half an inch. As we draw this, you may want to draw out or write out these measurements so that you can recreate this. You don't have to, but it makes it a little bit easier when you draw your other ones throughout the time with drawing this, because you are going to need 11 of these that aren't screwed up. And so if you draw measurements on there, I draw them a little bit lighter so that you can kind of see those measurements as you go. But right here, again, half an inch away from the edge, half an inch away from the edge is up here. And with that, we're just going to take our ruler. We're going to go to the 16 size scale, or you can use a regular ruler for this, but 16 is a regular ruler just so that we're using the scales. I will start with the border. The easiest way to draw a parallel line, so we're going to draw a parallel line away from the edge of this edge right up here to start off with. Easiest way to draw that is to create two spots to draw between, which basically means two dots. And so I'm going to come right here. This is going to be my white sheet of paper, and I'm going to grab a pencil, for which I just had one. There we go. And all I'm going to do is pick a random spot. So I'm just going to come up over here into this corner. I'm not even all the way to the edge. I'm going to come from here and put a little dot at half of an inch. And so right there I have a dot at half an inch down. I come over to this other side. I'm not going to flip this over, but I'm going to draw another dot at a half of an inch. And as we draw this, you're going to keep it nice and light. So right here, as the camera focuses, you can see half an inch dot, half an inch dot. I'm going to bring that down just a little bit easier so you can kind of see in here. But there's that dot, there's that one. I'm going to set a straight edge. I wouldn't necessarily use these rulers. What I would actually use is I would use the plastic triangles. One being that they're a little bit flatter. You may want a longer one. You are more than welcome to use these. However, people have used them as drumsticks. Please do not do that. But if you get these, they sometimes have bumps and hits on them. This one I know is pretty straight. I am going to use this one just in kind of time essence for this one, but I would again recommend using something that's truly flat. It's going to save you in the long run. You can always use, like I have this plastic ruler as well for me. Maybe I actually might just use that one just to kind of show you, since this one is my own personal one. I know I haven't used it as a drumstick. I'm going to set it right there. That's just right on that line right there. It's on the line over here or the dot that I drew earlier. I'm going to hold that one down. Again, nice and light. If you go dark, you're going to cause yourself a problem later on because part of this line has to be erased. So, nice and light all the way across there. Now it's going to be hard to see that line because, again, I made it nice and light, but that's what it is. We're going to rotate our paper. You can draw it this way, but I'm just going to rotate it so it's easier to see. I'm going to rotate it this way. I'm going to do this side now. It's the same kind of thing. I'm using a regular ruler this time just to show you that you can use a regular ruler. I go from there. Start off with half an inch. I'm going to come up here somewhere. Start and go a half of an inch right there. Let it focus. Now the goal is to only go up to this line right here where it hits. So I'm going to go between these two. Again, find my dot on this side. Find my dot on this side. Make sure that they line up. Now all I'm going to do is start right here where that line intercepts so I don't have as much to erase later on. I'm going to go this way. And draw that line nice and light. Again, I'm going to rotate it. Now we're going to do the bottom. Same kind of thing on the bottom. I'm just going to draw half of an inch. So I'm going right here. Half an inch. And again, you should probably be using the scale or any type of ruler. Again, I'm just using what I have in my house right now. And to kind of show you that you can use it with a ruler. Doesn't really matter that much. But there's my two lines. Again, the dots, whatever you want to call them, points. Nothing has changed. It's all still half an inch away from the edge of the paper. The edge of the paper is right here. I know it's kind of hard to see with that background, but that's what I'm measuring from. I'm not randomly just measuring from any point. And I'm just going to draw, whoops, ruler moved a little bit, across there again. Starting over on the side, going to where the other line is, nice and light. there I have that one. And again, I'm going to go to my last edge, measure out my 1/2 inch. I'll jump back to this one just so that, again, you can kind of see 1/2 inch. Here is the edge of my paper. I know it's kind of hard to see. It's kind of slight color variance. I'm going to go over this side, go to a 1/2 inch. I'm going to draw that one between the two lines I have now because I've already went around the paper on 3 edges. So I'm going to go here, nice and light. Now what I want you to do is you're going to take a nice eraser. If your eraser is trash, ask a partner, ask me, ask whoever else is your instructor for a better eraser if we have one. And this is also why we went nice and light. Now we're going to come to this corner. We're going to erase up to where the lines intersect. And then we have something that's a nice little corner. We go over here, we do the same thing. Just going around, you just basically make the outside of the paper move in, which is called an offset. We took the edge and we offset it or moved it in 1/2 inch. And we erase those lines. And once you go around and do all of the lines, or all of the corners, now what you do is, since we know that these are in the perfect spots, what we're going to do is go back and darken them and make them nice and dark. So sometimes you can use a different pencil type. Many drafters will swear upon different pencils and things like that, but in ease of our class, I just want you to use your regular pencil. I'm going to go from where those lines start right here, and all I'm doing is darkening those lines so that they're nice and dark. I can also use a different pencil rather than a mechanical one, but again, this is what I have. And so all I'm going to do is go around and darken those lines up. I'd probably make them a little bit darker, especially if you have a regular pencil. Or go back and forth over them a couple of times. And you can pause this video anytime that you need to if you get slowed down. I'm just trying to get this video to be as short, as informational as possible. That's why I'm not taking much time with going back and making these lines super, super dark. As you darken these, make sure you hold down on that straight edge, whether it's a ruler, whether it's a triangle, or whatever. When you're pressing on your pencil, this is the time that you're going to shift and move. And the moment you move and you darken a line that's not supposed to be where it's supposed to be at, your paper is basically going to get points taken off. So you may want to start over, because if the line is out of whack, or if you have an angle just drawn straight across here because the pen or ruler moved, straight edge moved, you're going to get points deducted. Now that's all darkened. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do this border right here down below. And we're going to put that one in next. And so this is 1/2 inch up. Right here, from here to here is 1/2 inch, or if you measure from the bottom of the paper to here, it's 1 inch. And that's all the way on both sides. So we'll just make a tick on this side, and we'll make a tick on this side on the paper. I'm going to draw that. So here's my bottom down here. I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm going to go from this end point, or this line that we created. And again, you can go from the bottom and go from inch up, or you can go from this line right here, which is 1/2 inch, and mark 1/2 inch up from your other line. Again, 2 different ways of doing it. Whichever way you're more comfortable is fine. Make sure that those measurements are correct, though. If they are not correct, that's wrong. There's a point, there's a point. Again, 2 points to make a parallel from another face, or another plane, or another line. So, again, right there, this one can go nice and dark because we are not erasing any of it, as long as you go in between the two. I'm going to be out one whole entire piece of lead by the time I get done with this. And there we have one more line across there. Here, we'll just take a measurement right here. This is going to be 2.5. This one right here is going to be 2.5. This one right here is going to be 2.5. I made all of those the exact same. So from here to here is 2.5. To the next line is 2.5. So this one I'm going to actually show you how to use your triangle correctly, square correctly. So we're going to first go along the bottom. I'm going to measure at 2.5. Just right there. I'll take a 2.5. I'm going to go to 5. I'll make a little tick on the bottom. I go 7.5, make a little tick. Should have 3 marks, 7.5, 5, and 2.5. I'll remove those. Now if you want to use the ruler method to keep it straight across, if you don't have anything else, you can always go up here and mark those out and go 2.5, 5, 7.5, and then just take your straight edge and go across them. Or you can take a square, a triangle. This is a 30-60 degree triangle. Doesn't really matter which one you use. What you're going to do here, I'm going to move this off the paper just a little bit. You can kind of see the bottom edge right there. But I'm just going to line up the flat edge of the square with the bottom edge. I'll bring that over to where that line was right here, that tick. And you can use that, and that's how you can keep it perpendicular from the bottom. Same thing that you could have done with measuring, so whichever one you're more comfortable with. I'm going to do that all the way across. And go between the lines. And go nice and dark with these ones. Okay, now you'll want to put in most of this information, not all. Some of it you'll just want to kind of write in nice and lightly. It's entirely up to you for this one. In these boxes, this is going to be your name, and it's first and last name, and it's legible, meaning that you write it out and you make it look good. Otherwise, I'm scrapping and throwing this away. Does not matter. If I cannot read any of this along the bottom, it's automatic garbage. Take your time. That's why we did the lettering packet. Make sure it is legible throughout all of this. This is going to be your name. I'll show you how to do that here in a minute. This one is going to be Bennington Public Schools. This right here is going to be, sorry, this right here is going to be block number. So when we get to the actual blocks, we're going to write out block number, and then you'll put which block it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 11. And this last one right here is the date that you start drawing that block. It's not today's date unless you start block number 1 today, which more than likely you won't. You're going to put date and then put the date right here. So right here I want to put my name in this location. Now I have a really long name, especially if it's first and last name. Andrew Lechtenberg is a very long last name. So what I actually do is I will split this box in half, which half of half is a quarter. So I actually make a little tick and a little tick over here. And I very lightly, meaning that I don't even want to see this line very easily, but I'm just going to very lightly make a slight line across there. What that does, it breaks it up. I made it a little bit darker than I probably should have, but that's kind of so you can see it on camera. What that does allows me to write my first name up here and my last name down below if I want to. It also gives me a little bit more room. So up here, I'm going to write my name, again, legible. So take your time with it. And then if I could, which I wrote this small enough or whatever, I could have put Lechtenberg up here, or I can go down here. Now there are going to be some drafters that say that this isn't the way to do it. G shouldn't go across the border. I fully kind of agree with that one, but at the same point in time, we're just going to go with what we have. So right there, legible, it's across there. Right here, we're going to put Bennington Public Schools. You may want to do the same thing. You might want to put Bennington Public and then schools underneath the bottom. That's entirely up to you. Just so I can go faster with this, I'm going to skip that one. But this will be Bennington Public Schools, or one line across there. It's entirely up to you for that one. Right here is going to be block number. And I'm actually going to make this one a little bit larger because it's got a lot of room. It's not a lot being wrote, and it's kind of the more informative one on here. Most people don't care about who you are drawing this. They care about what the actual name of the part is. So I'm going to put this one in a little bit larger letters. And if you really want to, if you're filling these sheets out and you can keep these ones in order, this one could be block number 1, because that'll be the first one that we draw. If you aren't going to keep these in order, then you might want to not write this quite yet. If you make a little mistake like I do, there are erasing shields. I just don't have any right here, so you can always ask me for an erasing shield. The block number 1, and then when you start this is going to be the date, so you might want to write very lightly that the date's going to go here. I would not write this small, but that's going to be the date. And so, for example, since I'm making this video on January 3rd, I'm going to put (01/03/2025). I used to do a little tiny box right here with the number of how many points you missed on this one. I don't do that anymore. I just write it up top, but that's kind of where I have a little bit extra space right here because I don't think most people are going to fill that, but that's where that space is going to be with that one. The final thing for this video, these are all the starting points for all the blocks. They should not be this dark. They're going to be nice and light when we do this, but we basically want to make starting points for them. And as you've kind of probably taken note of, this distance right here is 1/2 inch, and this distance is 1/2 inch. It's basically the corners of the border in 3 spots. However, you have to draw them in all 4 spots, just not fill them out up here. And so to do that, it's the same thing as making the border. You just come up here on, let's say, this corner. I'm going to go up 1/2 inch, make a little dot, go over here. And again, I'm going to go really fast through this because I really think most people could get this one done just a little bit faster. But I'm just going all the way around in all 4 spots like I did before. I'm just making 2 marks. Oops, where am I here? Let's get this up out of there. Just making 2 marks, one 1/2 inch down, one 1/2 inch over. And I'm just slowly rotating. I did this bottom section here. And again, you have to do this in all 4 corners. Again, making them nice and light. If you move them just slightly away from what you think 1/2 inch is, probably in your best interest. I'm doing that top corner now up over here. Bring that in. So, if I flip this around the correct way, this is our starting point. I have 8 marks, 2 on each side, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. This bottom piece, I'm basically going to make that line roughly 1/2 inch. But I'm just going to basically draw it again, nice and light. It does not matter on the distance, you just need a place to start with. I would make them no more than 1/2 inch. But again, nice and light as you start. You'll go around, you'll fill them out. And if you're short somewhere, if you're long somewhere, that's where you add more of a line or you subtract a little bit. So right here, I'm just barely touching. Up here, I had to extend from my mark just a little bit to get to the other one. And you'll notice that this top one over here on the right, I am not going to put anything in there. I'm just using the mark as a measuring point. I can pull that one across there and come down here to the bottom. And I can use that one as a measuring or marking point as well. Once I get all of those corners, and I'm going to leave them nice and light. Again, we're not darkening them, but I'm going to have all 3 of those corners right there. I go up here in this top corner, erase that, and then I'm going to start on my next one. You need 11 of these before you start drawing on the wood blocks, which will be another video or another demo, depending on if you're here on that day or who is teaching the class at that point in time. Good luck.